time. So today we're making artisan bread, and what makes artisan bread different from everything else? It's pretty easy. You literally need just a couple ingredients and just a whole lot of time. But what I have here is 3.5 cups of bread flour, and the reason I'm using bread flour is because it has a higher protein content, which means that the bread is going to be a little bit softer, it's going to have a chewier texture. Feel free to use all-purpose flour. If you use whole wheat flour, it's going to have a denser quality to it. So kind of experiment with it. I did find that this gives me like the softest texture, and I like to freeze my bread so that every morning I can just have a slice, and it tends to unfreeze really well as well. So 3.5 cups of bread flour. I've got a full tablespoon of sugar, and I have half a tablespoon of salt. Now over here I have 1.5 cups of warm water. And as you saw earlier, I had it warmed to about 110, between 110 and 115 degrees. And I put the packet of fast-acting dry yeast in there. If you don't have a packet and you have the cup, it's 2¼ teaspoons of the yeast. And I just put sugar on top of it, about a teaspoon of sugar, just to allow it to proof. And I always like to do that to make sure that my yeast is still active. And all we're gonna do is mix it together into a shaggy dough. What's a shaggy dough, you say? So glad you asked. So first I'm going to take my flour and just pop it on in. I don't have to sift it. Love doing this whole artisan bread thing because it's easy. So I was looking it up on Wikipedia because Wikipedia is awesome. I just put the sugar in there and now the salt on top. And all I'm going to do is mix it together with my whisk. And according to Wikipedia, artisan is the person who does the bread. So it should be artisanal bread because it's the adjective, but whatever works for you. We're making yummy bread today regardless. So I've just incorporated it really well. And then I'm just gonna tap it off like that. Put it to the side, and now incorporate the yeasty water right into the middle. I didn't make a full well, but I made enough of a dent in the dry ingredients to allow for this to come on in. And all we're gonna do is mix it in. I try not to be too vigorous because last time I warmed my bread and that's never pretty. So you're just gonna incorporate the dough. And what's even better about this, you don't get your hands dirty. Well, till later, and that's actually the fun part. But a shaggy dough is basically the dough coming together. And it looks a little bit like curdled milk, I think would be the best thing to describe it as. Hey puppy, you see somebody outside? The kids are playing again. So you can see it's coming together, it's incorporating, and it does that pretty quickly. We're talking about a minute or so into this. So all I'm gonna do is kind of take it off the spoon and incorporate it back in and just pile it up in the middle. Just like so. And that is literally it. So let me come in close and show you what a shaggy dough looks like. So you can see it's kind of piecey, it looks, oh, it's so far. It just basically hasn't come together, and that's all you need. And then I'm just gonna let it proof. So there's a lot of theory on proofing, and I've tried most of them. There's the refrigerator proofing where you put in the refrigerator and you let it proof there. There's the take a towel, soak it in water, throw it in the microwave until it's steaming, and then cover the bowl, then stick it in the microwave for 2 hours. I've done that too. But they say that the best thing to do is really just dry cool proof. So take your towel, or if you want saran wrap, just cover it and set it aside. And that's pretty much all you're gonna do. And you're gonna do that for about 2 hours, just depending on the temperature in your house. You want the dough to double in size. That's showing how active the yeast is. And after that, that's where we're gonna put our mix-ins and ingredients. But anyway, we're gonna let this sit, and I will see you in a little bit. Bye. And 45 minutes later, ta-da! Dough! That's right. So our dough has risen to about double the size, and it's time for us to add our mix-in. So we've decided to go with 2 different things. We've got pecans, Of course, you can do walnuts or almonds or cashews or whatever you like. And then we have cranberries. We like raisins too, but we also have a dog. And so dogs, raisins, it can get dangerous. Not this one. So these cranberries, it's about half a cup of each. So half a cup of chopped walnuts, pecans, half a cup of chopped cranberries. And what I do...
Yummy!
Very yummy. And then what I do is I soak them while this is proofing. So about 45 minutes in water and a little bit of bourbon, which is optional. Not the water, but the bourbon. That's why Mia has her own cranberries on the side. So we're gonna flour our workspace. That way it doesn't stick.
So we're gonna roll it.
That's right, we're gonna roll the dough out.
Or you want to do anything with it?
Yes, so all we're gonna do is knead it a little bit. So I'm gonna flour my hands.
Can I have some?
Well, you're gonna help me with the cranberries. And all you're gonna do is smooth it out. So just a couple times, working it back and forth. Flour it a little bit, not too much because you don't want it to be dry.
I got a little bit, Mommy.
You did get a little bit? Thanks, babe.
I'm the helper. Hey, what is it to me?
So when you're doing your mix-ins, a lot of the trouble happens when you just try to throw them in. So I found the best thing to do is to flatten out your dough a little bit. So you're gonna put your mix-ins just across the top. Now you can take the whole cup, baby. Take the whole cup. Good job. And now sprinkle across. Sure. Okay. Good job. So it doesn't even have to be even. What we're gonna do after this is start folding it onto itself. So get everything on top. May I have the rest of it in my hands? Boop. Thank you. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold it once over and then once over again, kind of like you're making a cinnamon roll. And then fold it in.
That way it didn't fall.
Yes, that's correct. And then just keep rolling it in and keep tucking those condiments, I guess, add-ins in. And then flatten it again and do the same thing. Just fold it over once. Good job. Pop that puppy back in. And I'm gonna do the speedy rise again. So this kind of damp washcloth, damp dishwasher cloth is gonna go back in the dish, I can't even speak, is gonna go back into the microwave for 2 minutes till it's hot and steaming. Then I will put it on top of this and then put them both into the microwave for another about 45 minutes. Now take into account that the more stuff you put in your bread, the more cranberries, walnuts, sesame seeds, whatever it is, it makes the dough heavy. So your rise may take longer. So although I'll set my timer for 45 minutes, it may take 50 minutes, an hour and a half. So here we go, and we'll see you in a little bit. Our bread has been in the microwave for about 60 minutes now, and I can see that's already popping through the top, so let's take a look at it. Ta-da! Looks very pretty.
Are you talking to the camera?
I am talking to the camera. That's right, we're videoing again. So I've got my light aluminum pan ready. I noticed that if I use a darker pan, it browns a lot faster. So I use a lighter pan and then I line it with parchment to make sure it doesn't stick. I'm just gonna dust a little bit of flour on top. And then I'm gonna pop my dough right onto that. There you go. I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on the top. Move it around here and just shape it. We're gonna slash across the top. And the reason we do that is because the bread is gonna expand and it's gonna crack. So I'm just gonna cut right down the middle, just a couple little slices. And you want them to be about 1/2 inch deep. And that's gonna give it actually a really pretty texture when it opens up. Now I preheated my oven for 450 degrees, but you have to be aware of what your oven does. For instance, mine, it runs really, really hot. So if I set it at 450, it would probably be at 475. So what I did is I set it at 425, and it's perfectly at 450 right now. I've got a thermometer in there. What you have to do while it's preheating is make sure that you have a non-ceramic, non-glass dish in there on the bottom rack. What we're going to do is pour water into that. It's going to give it a steam bath, so the bread's going to be really nice and firm and brown and crusty on the outside, and the inside is going to be super soft. And here we go. I've got my bread, I've got my water, I've got my oven preheated to 450, and at the very bottom I have that pan. Now be careful about your rack positioning, especially with bread. If you have it up too high, it might brown too quickly and the inside won't cook. I'm going to put the bread on top, then I'm going to pull out the bottom rack and put water into the pan that's in the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to set my kitchen timer for 20 minutes. And that's a good check time, about 20 minutes. Like, there's no way it's going to be done in less than that. So we'll start with 20, check it then, and then see if it's ready to come out or if it needs a little more time. Okay. All right, so here we go, finished product. And it is gorgeous. I'm going to tilt up this way a little bit. Still warm, just came fresh out of the oven. And my oven actually only took about 20 minutes. Like I said, it runs still really warm, so I'm going to put it on the drying rack to cool a little bit and get everything out of the way, and then we'll slice it up and have some great artisan bread. So that's our bread for the day. You have got your artisan bread. Happy baking, have a great weekend, and I will see you on the next round. Bye.